All right, this is how to answer the questions on the third grade theory test. I am going to first off say never ever ever use a pen when you take the theory test. Only use a pencil. But for the purposes of making sure that you can clearly see the answer, I'm going to use a pen today. Also, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to work this page as long as it doesn't take too long. That's my plan. And when I started doing it on my iPad, it printed with the answer here, okay? So just follow along with me using your pencil, and hopefully we'll answer all of your questions that you never even knew you were going to have. The first thing, on the third grade exam, they will give you the option of having a question read to you if you don't understand the question. So do not hesitate to ask the teacher who is in the room to read it to you if you need help with a question, all right? Now, we're going to go to number 1, and we will read the question. Print the music alphabet going down. Notice that it is in bold. Make sure it's going down, not going up. Start with the G that is already printed. G, what letter comes before G? F, E, D, C, B, A. As my student, you've been doing that since book 1. If you didn't start in book 1 with me, well, you missed out because that's what we started doing basically your third week of lessons. So we have G, F, E, D, C, B, A. All right. Number 2, on the staff below, draw whole notes. Remember, the whole note is simply a circle. It doesn't have to be filled in and look fancy. It's just a circle. Draw whole notes on the correct line or space as named below the staff. Look at the clef sign. What if this was a bass clef? If it were bass clef, then these would obviously go in different lines and spaces, so be very careful about that, all right? In treble clef, give me the whole note and try to keep it on the staff. Don't give me the notes that are way up high and require ledger lines, especially if you're not even sure what a ledger line is. Don't go way down low. Try to do the ones that are on the 5 lines and 4 spaces. So we have F, E, of course, this E would also work, this F would also work, but you only have to give one. A, D, B, and C, because I'm trying to keep them on the staff. So this would be a correct answer, but it's more artwork than is necessary, all right? So there are usually more than one answer that you can pick here. Try to stick to the middle of the staff, all right? If you are weak on this skill, the number 2 skill, on your note naming, then using apps like Flashnote Derby, apps like Ningenius, or what is the other one? It has note in its name. I'll tell you in a lesson. If you need to know what it is, then I'll tell you. It's also very helpful. Use an app, use a free app, get some flashcards, quiz a sibling, Do whatever it takes. Make sure that you're strong on this skill. Now then, we're going to move on to question number 3. Print the letter name of each note on the line below the staff. Look at the clef sign. See, they're very intent on you looking at that clef sign for good reason. So make sure you do it. If it were treble clef, you would put them in different places, all right? So this is the opposite approach to question number 2. Now you're given the note and you need to give the letter. So this one is tricky, isn't it? It is very possible that they will do something like that on the test just to see how well you really know what you're talking about. Again, the apps, flashcards, going through them, naming them in your music, anything that you can do in order to make your note naming skills stronger is a good thing. Question number 4. Name these intervals on the line below each measure. Example, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or 5th. An interval, remember, is a word that means distance or measurement in music. So from one point to another point, an interval, distance. It's like an inch or a mile or a meter. All right. So, in order to calculate the distance from one note to another note, we simply go to the lower of the two notes. I find that's the easier way to go. And then you'll go 1, wherever that note is, you start with it and you say 1, and then 2. So from that line, 1, to the next space is 2, or a second. Do not say 2, do say second. If you can't remember what the ending should be, look back up here to the NDRDTH, all right? So let's find the lower of the two notes. Starting in the space, we'll go 1, line is 2, space is 3, line is 4, space is 5. This is a 5th. Line is 1, space is 2, line is 3. 3rd. Line is 1, space is 2, line is 3, space is 4, line is 5th. Line is 1, space is 2, line is 3, space is 4. 4th. 1, 2. 2nd. All right. Now, if you've been wondering, in this column over here, these are how many points that question is worth. If you were to get this one wrong, for example, then you would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. They would give you 5 points credit, or they would write a -1 over here. All right, so this is how many points you can get off of each one of those numbers, of those questions. Our last one for page 1. In each measure, draw the note in bold or rest in bold, which is named below the measure. Remember the stem rule. Okay, so what is the stem rule? The stem rule says that if a note is on the middle line, then its stem can go either up or down. But if the note is above the middle line, its stem must go down. And if it is below the middle line, its stem must go up. the stem rule, okay? So on the line, whichever way you like. Above the line, down. Below the line, up. The middle line, that is. The reason for this is it keeps your eye in the staff. If your stems go way up here as you get higher, it pulls your eye out of the center of the staff and makes it harder to read. So the stem needs to be closer to the middle of the staff as it can be at all times. All right, so the thing we need to do is draw a dotted half note. We can put it anywhere we like. So I am going to put it right here. Remember, the half note is an empty head, a stem. The stem should be about 3 lines high. 1, 2, 3. You see that? 3 lines plus a little bit, or 3 spaces plus a little bit. Okay? So 1, 2, 3. Not quite to the top, but very, very close. And it's a dotted half note. So make sure that you put that dot on the right hand side, not over here and not under it. If you had a dot under the half note, that would mean that it was staccato. That's the way you play it, not the length of the note, okay? Now we need to draw a whole note. Well, that should be easy. We were doing that up here. And finally, a quarter note. Remember that the quarter note has its head filled in. Think 1, 2, 3 plus a little bit for its line, okay? What they do not want is to see a note that, so this is a no. Don't do your quarter note or any of these with a stem that's like little tiny, okay? Make sure that it is long enough to be seen, and they don't want it like that either, okay? So this is a don't, okay? And just like that, the first 5 questions of the test are done.